What I'm about to tell you is going to sound uncomfortable, but if you're over 40, you need to hear it. You can follow every rule your doctor gave you. Eat clean, take your medication, hit your daily steps, and still be slowly developing arterial plaque. No warning, no symptoms, no obvious mistake. Let me paint a picture. You become the ideal patient. You replace butter with margarine. Red meat becomes grilled chicken. You take your statin every night like clockwork. Your blood test comes back. LDL, normal, doctor, happy, you, reassured. Then one day, you go for a scan, and suddenly, reality hits. The plaque didn't stop. It didn't stabilize. It kept growing. This is the part nobody explains. We've become very good at improving numbers on paper, but we're quietly losing control of what's happening inside the artery itself. I'm Dr. Kelly Robbins, and today I want to shift how you see heart disease completely, because this is not a fat stuck in a pipe problem. It's a biological system that's stuck, locked, and unable to resolve itself. And if you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, but something still feels off, it's not you, it's the model you've been given. Let's challenge one of the most widespread assumptions in modern health, that arteries clog simply because you ate too much fat. It's a simple explanation, and that's exactly why it's so misleading. The idea goes like this. Fat enters the bloodstream, sticks to the walls, builds up over time, clean, logical, easy to understand. But reality doesn't behave that way, because if that were true, plaque would form evenly throughout your entire vascular system. But it doesn't. It shows up in very specific locations, areas of stress, pressure, turbulence, which tells us something important. This is not random buildup. This is a localized biological response. Your arteries are not passive tubes. They are active, intelligent tissues constantly responding to signals, blood sugar, hormones, inflammation, stress. And plaque? Plaque is not the enemy. It's the evidence of something that went wrong internally. At the center of this process is the endothelium, the inner lining of your arteries. Think of it like a command center. It regulates flow, repair, and immune responses in real time. When everything is balanced, this system works beautifully. Damage occurs, signals are sent, repair happens, balance is restored. But when your internal environment becomes unstable, constant sugar spikes, chronic stress, ongoing inflammation, that communication breaks down. Now let's talk about LDL. LDL is often labeled the villain, but in reality, it's a transporter, delivering essential materials throughout your body. The problem isn't its existence. The problem is what happens to it in a dysfunctional environment. Instead of moving efficiently, these particles become altered, misinterpreted, and flagged. Your immune system reacts. Macrophages, your cleanup cells, arrive to deal with the situation. At first, everything is under control, but the signals never stop. The environment stays chaotic, so the cleanup crew keeps working without resolution. They absorb more and more and more until they become overloaded. These become what we call foam cells. But think of them differently. They are workers trapped in an endless emergency, unable to leave, unable to finish the job. Over time, they accumulate, break down, and create a zone of chronic inflammation. Your body tries to contain this and eventually reinforces it with calcium. That plaque, you see, It's not random fat. It's a scar from a process that never resolved. And here's the issue. If you only focus on lowering LDL numbers without fixing the environment that caused the problem, you're not solving anything. You're just reducing the signal while the system stays broken. Before we talk about solutions, we need to identify what's quietly driving the problem. Because plaque doesn't appear out of nowhere. It develops in an environment that's been gradually disrupted. There are three major factors that distort your body's internal signaling. First, unstable blood sugar. This isn't just about diabetes. Every spike and crash creates stress at the vascular level, and more importantly, sends mixed signals to your cells. Over time, your body gets stuck in a loop of constant reaction. Repair never fully completes. Second, processed industrial fats. The issue isn't fat itself, it's the type and stability of that fat. Highly processed oils are prone to damage under heat and storage, and when incorporated into your cells, they make them more reactive and less stable. It's like installing faulty wiring into a system that depends on precision. Third, reduced nitric oxide availability. This is one of the most overlooked factors. Nitric oxide is a key signaling molecule that helps regulate how your arteries behave. Without it, vessels become stiff, less responsive, and more vulnerable to dysfunction. And this can be reduced by poor diet, inactivity, and even overuse of antibacterial products that disrupt your oral bacteria. So the issue isn't just what you consume, it's what you unknowingly interfere with. Now, here's the question most people never get answered. If your body knows how to heal, why doesn't it fix this? Why doesn't plaque just go away once you start eating better? Because this isn't a simple blockage. It's a system that's stuck. Inside your arteries, those foam cells are trying to release their contents. They have a mechanism to do that, a transporter called AB1. Think of it like an exit door. It allows excess cholesterol to leave the cell and be processed properly. But in a chronically inflamed, high-insulin environment, that exit system gets suppressed. The door is there, but it's not working. Now you have cells filled with material they can't release, stuck in a space that doesn't stabilize. That's the deadlock. Meanwhile, your body tries to contain the situation. It deposits calcium to stabilize the area. But over time, that protection becomes rigidity. Flexibility becomes stiffness. Adaptation becomes limitation. And this is why so many people feel like nothing is changing. Because most interventions focus on managing numbers, not restoring function. Before we move into the practical side, let's make this real. Because concepts are useful, but people remember stories. Let me tell you about Sophie. Sophie is 68 years old, a former school teacher, organized, disciplined, and the kind of person who takes her health seriously. For years, she did everything by the book. She followed a low-fat diet. She stayed active, daily walks, light exercise. She took her prescribed medication consistently, and just like many people in her position, her lab results looked acceptable, not perfect, but under control. Yet something didn't sit right with her. She felt more fatigued than she should. Climbing stairs became harder, and there was this quiet, persistent feeling that her body wasn't improving. It was just maintaining. Then came the scan. Her calcium score had increased again, not dramatically overnight, but steadily, year after year. That's when frustration turned into confusion. She told me, "I'm doing everything right. So why does it feel like I'm slowly losing ground?" And that question matters, because Sophie wasn't careless. She wasn't inconsistent. She wasn't ignoring her health. She was following a model that focused on control, not restoration. Her cholesterol was being managed, but her internal environment was still unstable. Years of low-fat eating had reduced her HDL, the very system responsible for helping transport excess cholesterol out. Inflammation signals were still present. Circulation wasn't optimal, and nothing was addressing the deeper imbalance. The medication helped regulate one part of the system, but it didn't resolve the underlying traffic jam. Sophie wasn't broken. She was stuck in a loop that never fully completed. So we changed the strategy. Instead of asking, how do we lower the numbers further, we asked, how do we improve how the system functions? We introduced specific nutritional inputs, not randomly but intentionally. We focused on restoring nitric oxide production. We supported the body's natural transport mechanisms. We addressed where calcium was going, not just how much there was. And most importantly, we focused on consistency, not perfection, just clear, repeated signals. About 3 months later, the change wasn't just visible. It was noticeable in how she moved and spoke. She had more energy. She walked longer distances without stopping. She felt more confident in her body again. No dramatic claims, no overnight transformation, but a clear shift from managing decline to rebuilding function. And that's the goal. To move out of a biological deadlock, the solution isn't extreme restriction. It's targeted support. Most people approach health by removing things, cutting fats, cutting calories, cutting entire food groups. But very few focus on what needs to be added back in to restore balance. This protocol is built around 4 key elements, not because they are trendy, but because they influence how your system actually behaves. Key number 1, nitrate-rich greens, arugula beets. These foods support the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that plays a central role in vascular health. But beyond that, nitric oxide helps regulate how your arteries respond to stress. It supports flexibility. It improves circulation. It helps maintain a smoother internal environment. When levels are low, vessels tend to become more rigid and less responsive. When levels improve, the system begins to operate with more balance. This is often one of the first areas where people notice subtle improvements, better energy, clearer thinking, less heaviness. Key number 2, high-quality extra virgin olive oil. Not all oils are the same. High-quality olive oil contains compounds that support cellular signaling and may help improve how your body manages cholesterol transport. This isn't about adding more fat blindly. It's about providing the body with stable, supportive inputs that work with your biology, not against it. Over time, this helps the system become more efficient in how it processes and moves lipids. Key number 3, polyphenol-rich foods like pomegranate. These compounds help reduce oxidative stress and support a more stable internal environment. Think of them as reducing background noise. Less stress on the system means fewer misinterpretations by the immune response, which means less unnecessary overreaction. This doesn't fix everything on its own, but it creates conditions where the body can function more effectively. Key number 4, vitamin K2. MK7 form. This is often overlooked. Vitamin K2 plays a role in directing calcium to the right places, like bones, and away from soft tissues. It doesn't remove calcium. It helps manage where it goes. And over time, that matters, because structure in the body is not just about quantity, it's about placement. Now we get to the part that determines whether this works or not. Consistency, not intensity, not perfection. Consistency. Your body responds to repeated signals over time, not occasional effort. That's why this phase isn't about trying it when you remember. It's about giving your system a stable environment long enough to respond. Here's a realistic progression. By day 7, reconnection phase. At this stage, the system starts responding to the new inputs. Circulation may improve slightly. Energy becomes more stable. Mental clarity may feel a bit sharper. Nothing extreme, but noticeable if you pay attention. By day 21, stabilization phase. Now the internal environment begins to calm. Inflammation signals reduce. The body becomes less reactive. Movement may feel easier. This is where people often realize that something is actually shifting. By day 60, adjustment phase. At this point, processes related to transport and repair are functioning more efficiently. The system is no longer just reacting, it's adapting. You may notice improved endurance, less fatigue, and more consistency in how you feel day to day. By day 90, integration phase. This is where the changes become part of your baseline. You're no longer trying to fix something. You've created a more stable internal environment, and that reflects in your energy, your movement, and your overall sense of control. If you truly want to understand your cardiovascular health, basic cholesterol numbers are only one piece of the puzzle. There are more informative markers available. Things like ApoB, which reflects particle number, oxidized LDL, which reflects particle condition, CAC score, which reflects structural impact. These give you a more complete picture of what's happening beneath the surface. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about chasing perfect lab results. It's about understanding whether your body is functioning in a coordinated way or struggling to keep up. If this video helped clarify something for you, even slightly, consider sharing it with someone who might benefit. Because many people are doing their best, they just haven't been given the full picture. Let me know in the comments. On a scale from 0 to 10, how clear is this deadlock concept to you now? And more importantly, what's one habit you're starting to question? I read your comments, and in the next video, we're going to break down a very common, healthy morning habit that may not be as harmless as it seems. You might be doing it every day without realizing it. I'll see you in the next one.